Alright folks, today we got a special project. We have to sort out my intermodal yard with some of my stuff that I brought back from Superior Scenics, and we have to paint some coal loads. These are from my Wisconsin Electric Power Service cars, and I've got paint sticks, I've got some scrap material from work. We're going to cover in tape, a couple wraps around, and this should stick to it. I've got black spray paint. We're going to shoot these black. We're going to put some hobby tack on them and coal. And these will be the coal for my coal cars. I should have these done today. It is the 4th of July, but it's supposed to rain most of the day. It's pretty nice out right now, but tonight it'll be storming, so this will be something good to have ready for tonight when it's time to play with some trains. So I'm going to fast forward this part for you guys, but I'm going to tape up 13 of these because that's how many coal cars I have. So let's get to it. So real quick, I'll show you guys how I do these tape sticks for painting 3D printed parts, or for anything that I want to hold away from me. Since I don't have a paint booth, I usually do this outside, and since today's like perfect for this is what I'm doing. So I take my tinner's tape, I tape one side like normal, and then I double back and I tape it right back to itself. And I can take my coal load here. Since I'm only shooting the top, I can just shoot away like this and get everything I need covered. So I've got 9 more to go. Let's get them done. Alright, so I've got some black spray paint here. This isn't primer or nothing. This is actually bonds to plastic, metal and wood, more. Just Rust-Oleum black spray paint, nothing special. Biggest reason I got paint sticks is I didn't want overspray in the garage, on the cars, anywhere in the garage for that matter, on the floor or anything. We got a couple of spots in there, and I don't want to get on the lawn. Lawn is dead enough with the lack of rain we've had, so I'm just gonna try this out a little bit and see how it does. So I'd say that went pretty well, and I don't need to get it like super good or anything because this is going to get covered with coal. I'm gonna hobby tack over it and then just dump some coal. I've got some mixed, some fine and very fine coal from Superior Scenics, of course, and just gonna hit it up a little bit. So I'm just gonna go up, touch this up. I got a couple spots I'd like to get a little bit better, but otherwise I'm not worried about all the cracks and crevices. That'll be covered with coal. So some of them I've sanded down a little bit more with my palm sander. Other ones I've kind of left some edges just to kind of give it some texture and different loads. But this way, hand making loads, everyone's going to be different. Alright, so now that they're all painted up and mostly dry, it is a little warm and humid. It's getting a little bit warmer and more humid today on the 4th. So I'm going to bring these into the basement to let them finish cooling and curing, and then we're going to put some hobby tack on them and add coal. Let's go see how they turn out. Alright, so here's another scene I'm working on. I'm sorry, my light I left over at Superior Scenics knowing I'd be back out there, and my tripod broke. So I just left everything there. But I want to revamp this area. Before I had the Sprecher Brewery over here, but now that I'm kind of eliminating space or trackage in another area, I want to turn this into a little intermodal TOFC facility. So I'll eventually end up extending this track out to here, so I can fit another trailer on here or a couple more cars, and probably bring this back a little bit as well. I don't know that I want to make both tracks intermodal. I might. But basically what I want to do today is kind of plot out containers, trailers, and kind of a path for trucks to take, so that way when they're coming through here they actually have a place to go, so it doesn't look like I just put trucks in the middle of nowhere. So we're going to do that real quick, and I'm going to take out and I'm going to use some of these containers with chassis. I keep forgetting what that's called. I keep wanting to call this the spine, but the chassis containers from Athearn. I've got 2 of them here. They're both 20 footers, and I wanted to use these because they've got the chassis on there, and they'll look really good over here, like they're getting pulled on and off of cars. So, and I've got a few trucks to use. I actually can eliminate a few things too while I'm here, because I've got 2 other 20-foot spines, or excuse me, chassis over here, and then I've got an old consolidated freight pup for moving stuff around, or a yard truck. So I can get rid of that guy because I have a Milwaukee Road one I'm going to use that my father decaled up for me. So let's move some of this stuff around real quick, add some containers, kind of plot out the scene a little bit more, and we'll get this situated. Alright, so I've got everything kind of laid out. This is the fence for Sprecher here. I need to kind of figure out how I'm going to do that. I think we're going to do the campgrounds from here all the way over here. So this will all be campgrounds. I think this will actually land things a lot nicer than this would have on doing it back here. I think looking at it here this way with the campgrounds in the foreground, I think it'll look great with the train going in the backside. Be kind of a Devil's Lake kind of feel. I think that'll work out nicely in this house. Can kind of go up here. It would just be on a hill, so the trains will be behind it. Maybe maybe the hill for that will actually be higher than the trains. I haven't quite decided yet, but I'm liking this a little bit better. This is coming through a little bit more for me. So this will be kind of the cutoff here, kind of a scenic divide. So we'll put a fence up here with some trees, and then you get your TUFC facility, you've got your intermodal facility, and this is just a fraction of the containers I've got. Most of them are still at Superior Scenics, but I'm still not too thrilled with the layout here. I'm wondering if maybe I should put some trailers over there instead, and then put the containers over here, and I can stack them a little bit more neatly. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that. I know I've got a ton of 45-foot containers. So maybe what I'll do is I'll rearrange the trailers and the containers some other time when I get the rest of them back here, and can kind of play with that a little bit more. But I'm going to run intermodal as part of my mixed freight, because to do it as a unit train isn't going to work in this instance. Unless I do like I did with my last operating session, I just swapped out a few cars at a time. What's going to be really exciting now is adding TUFC and intermodal to this. Is now I'll be able to swap out trailers and containers on the cars. That's really cool, I think. The only way to top that, I believe, is if I had a yard. And I could keep all my rolling stock on the layout at all times, and I could just constantly be changing stuff out, and I could have a yard somewhere else, maybe say a small yard over this way, and I would be able to swap out cars. So and I'd have another intermodal yard over there, so I could swap out containers there. So when the car comes back over here, it's got different stuff. I have enough trailers and I have enough containers to do the small yard on each side, and I think that would be really cool. So that said, my coal loads should be done now, and let's go check them out. Let's see if they're ready for some hobby tack and some coal. All right, so we've got our hobby tack here, and I've got a couple of projects going on now. We started with the intermodal. Started with the coal. We were on to the intermodal yard, and I was going to do more coal, but now I've got more intermodal I found. So these are all gifts to me from a gentleman who is now passed and gone, but donated a bunch of stuff to me to find a good home for it. And so I told him I'd take what I could use and pass on the rest to someone else who could use it in a responsible manner. So I've got these little guys here who are really kind of neat. So these are just big forklifts, and then they have these attachments that slide onto them like so, that hold containers. And so that's really kind of neat. In fact, I just totally missed that other fork. There we go. That's better. All right. So you've got these little pins underneath that'll actually clasp onto a container if it's set up correctly. Now, these guys aren't set up correctly. I just want to clean these up because they're fairly nicely done. I'd probably put a shot of dull coat on to cover up the glue, but at least I have tankers. So I just want to try brushing these off a little bit to see how much of this dust will come off nicely and how much of this needs to be washed. Okay, so I've got a Kalmar crane somewhere, but I've got this guy, which I want to put over here, and that'll work great because he can swing around anywhere. He doesn't have to be able to pull in and out. So this will be really nice. I bought this from Tag Trains when this came out from Walthers, and it's really neat. I'm really looking forward to having this up. I don't know if I'm going to be the one to build it because I'm not very good with kits, or if I'm going to have a professional do it, someone who actually knows what they're doing. So if you're interested in building this kit for me, I will pay you. I will pay you a fair rate. But just let me know if you're interested and how much you'd be looking to get for this. Build it nicely, maybe even repaint it, weather it up a bit. But otherwise, I'm going to use these guys in the meantime. But I need to fix this rear wheel. So what I'm going to do right now is grab some super glue. All right, so we're back to this guy. And this one's got a broken peg, so I'll probably turn it around and make it look like it's picking something up. We'll set these back over by the intermodal facility when we get done with the coal. So for that, set this around over here. Got my coal loads like this. So they're nice, they're black. They're just a hair tacky in some of the really wet spots. But I think this is going to be all right. So we're going to open this up. This is a tub full of coal. This is from Superior Scenics. All right, so we've got the coal set up here, ready to go. We've gone through some of the intermodal stuff. We've got parts gluing and drying. We'll re-attack that scene here in a few minutes. So we're going to put some coal on this guy. So all I'm going to do is just put some hobby tack across the top, nice and light, and we're going to pour some coal over. I've got my Absolute Mule free mug that I got several years ago from, I forget what bar we went to, but so we're going to just put some tack on here and try this out. Now what's going to be important is that I can't set this down once I've begun. I need to finish, put it back on the box to dry, and then grab the next load. I'll spread it on there nice and even. And another thing is too is if I want to take this off or change this in any way, I can do that real easily just by soaking it in some warm water and then filtering out the coal so we're not putting that in our sewer system. And spread this out nicely. It's not spreading as well as I'd like with the paint, but it is what it is. I'll live with it. And just like that, we are ready for coal. Just gonna spread the sides around a little bit more. I don't want it to be too thick. And let's give this a shot. So I'll put the hobby tack over here. We're gonna grab our coal and our bucket. We're just gonna pour it right back over. Just like that. I'll put on another layer here. The reason I'm doing this is so it fills in any of the light spots that maybe I didn't get first time around. So what I want to do is keep applying until I have all the little white spots filled. With all the little light dust that there is in here. I can tell that there's dust in here because it's floating around a little bit. So, now with this done, I'm going to let this side sit a little bit. I'm not too worried about it. I'm happy with the results. Maybe get this corner a little bit more. Tap it off. I'm going to get this side, and I think I'm going to move this operation outside just because of the dust. I don't want it getting on my electronics. My stereo system, I've got an old stereo system that doesn't need any help getting older or worse. Let it sit on here for a second, and we'll rotate. I think that covered it fairly nicely. We're going to do it one more time here. So when we did this at Superior Scenics, we covered it with glue, and then we used, and then we did it like ballast on foam, and that worked out all right. It turned out real nice, but it took a lot longer. So I'm trying to make this a little bit quicker. So we're going to tap it one way, tap it the other. Rotate it, give it a couple of good taps, and I think that's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. So the sides I'm not too worried about because those will probably get scraped off eventually, but the tops are where it's at, where it's a little bit more important for me. So I'm going to put this guy in the box, grab another one. I think honestly at this point, I'm just going to finish this in here, be a little bit quicker. Alright, so a couple of things I learned while doing this, and a couple things I would change. One, use the thinner sticks like this that don't reach out the sides. I just made a bunch of stuff out of scrap at work and wrapped tape around it. This is all I did. I wasn't really planning to do it for this specifically, but that's what I would do. The tape worked out magnificent. I mean, this stuff's sturdy. I mean, sturdy. Second of all, I didn't go through and smooth some of the edges on top, and I kind of liked it because every cold load looks a little bit different. Every cold load looks a little bit, some of them look smoother than others, like it was smeared across the top. If these don't work out and I don't like that look, I can always fix it. I can either soak them or just remake them, which would probably be the case. Second, I would prefer to do this outside. I didn't hear it because it didn't take that long. And it didn't end up being as dusty as I thought. I'm sure I'll be sneezing some up later. And then I would probably do this over a sheet of paper instead of paper towel. It'd crease easier to pour it back in here. So I'm going to put this on. And something else was I ended up missing the end on this a little bit. It was a little bit wet. I noticed that because I was pouring like so, like this. And I didn't really get the tips very good. So I'd probably do it over a larger surface rather than just trying to aim for the bucket and then getting it all over the bar instead. And I would use more hobby tack. The ones I put more hobby tack on, things sat better. It's hard to apply it smoothly with such a soft surface or such a fine surface. But I'm happy with the results overall. So I'm going to put them back in front of the fan and the dehumidifier. We're going to go back to the intermodal scene here. Hopefully this guy's glued up. And let's go have some more fun. Alright, so we're back over here. I apologize for the lighting once again. So what we're going to do is this guy's broken, but we are going to take the mast, size it to a container, and then have it look like he's picking up that container. So maybe we'll have this guy picking up a Crowley here. Forward like so. So now it looks like he's grabbing a container. So that looks pretty good. Now, my other... Where'd my other one go? I just had it. Oh, here it is. So now I've got this other guy. Now, I kind of want to see if this will support a container in the air. Maybe bring it down just a hair. I'm going to snap one of these 40 or 20 foot containers into here. If we can do it without breaking anything. And just have him roaming around. Maybe placing it on one of the chassis here. So there's the intermodal yard. Not too bad. I'm going to pop this off here quick and we'll take another look. Alright, so we've got the TUFC facility here, and this can also handle intermodal if we're just going from trailer to chassis. And then over here we've got to chassis, flat car or spine, or intermodal well car, whatever, or in the yard. So this is really nice. I think once I get the crane over here, what I'll do is I'll put the crane in the back and use that for stacking the stuff up. And that way I can have a couple of nice tall stacks over here. And I think that'll be really cool. That'll be like the storage guy. So this is, I feel like, looking pretty busy. I'm kind of thinking that maybe I should relocate the stacks over here, or some of them at least, and maybe back the trailers against those, but we'll see. This is all the trailers I've got and like a third of the containers. So I think this is looking really good. I'm really happy with it. Let me know what you guys think. If there's enough room here for trucks to get around. I do want to finish putting the track further back, maybe another 6 or 8 inches. But yeah, let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Alright, so we've got our coal loads here. They seem like they're pretty well dried. I don't feel a whole lot of movement. Maybe a little bit of squishiness. But I think they're good enough to start working with. And as the hobby tack dries and cures more, it'll turn clear, so you'll just see the black paint underneath, which is why we painted it to begin with. So now the goal is to carefully remove it from the stick, which is just painter's tape, and apply it to the gondola and repeat until all my cars are full. So I'm going to try by gently spreading these two, because I don't want to grab it by the coal load. Set that gently like so. Maybe brush just some of the light stuff off the sides. Get a little bit more off the sides here. And we're just taking it off the outside edges just because I did hobby tack that edge. And then we'll just gently work it into place. And it's still just a little wide, so we'll just take off a little bit more. Since the edges are painted, we won't see them. And it's always easier to remove material. Sometimes, actually, either way, it would be easy to remove it, easy to keep it. So, just give it a little push. And we've got our coal load. I think that looks rather nice. So, I'm going to repeat this process for all the cars, and we'll see what it looks like when we're done. Alright, so the coal loads are finished and installed. I'll do a quick walk by of the train, and then I'll drop down the pictures right here so you guys can actually check out the loads for yourself. Let me know what you like better, the sanded load or the unsanded load. So there's one that has a little bit more of a crease in the edge, the other one's a little bit more round. Let me know what you guys think. Let's go take a look at the train. Alright, so here's the train. I think it looks pretty good, nice and sparkly. And you can see you've got the square load there, and you've got kind of a more rounded load, a couple cars behind it. I think they turned out really good. Maybe a little bit more full than I would have liked, but I'm going to take it. I'm not gonna argue with this, but I know next time I need to put a have a flatter profile to it or a smoother profile to the loads, and I'll maybe, if I decide to make another batch of these later and sell these or throw them out, whatever, I might do that. So let me know what you guys think about that. I haven't really done much else to the intermodal scene here, but I'm really happy with the way that's looking right now. That'll probably develop a little bit more. I'll figure out where to put that fence in for Sprecher, and we'll have another update for you probably later this week. So you guys take care and have a great week.